This felt like a terrible loss. Saturday night, okay, cool. We're going to go to Minneapolis, though, and kick their ass, right? Yeah, we're going to run up and down the floor. We'll make a bunch of threes. Rudy's going to dunk on some heads. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. Never materialized. And it was the exact same script that the Jazz wrote on Saturday night. Let's come out and dominate the first quarter, and then we'll see you in Sacramento. That's essentially what happened last night. And the Jazz were, I don't want to say they weren't able to recover. Mike Conley hits a huge three to give the Jazz the lead late. And, Jake, I don't know how you explain the mental meltdown defensively by Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking. And there were multiple plays in the game where it just seemed like, and this is situational, of course, but it just seems like Rudy Gobert wasn't locked in mentally. Like it was like, as an easy example, the KarlAnthony Towns, baseline drive to a big dunk finish. That's a play where, Rudy is in the corner. He has the ability to see Cat coming to get the ball, and he still just lets him drive the baseline. And then that play at the end of the game, I don't know where Rudy was going. Since when did Rudy Gobert become a three-point line defender? When did that happen? Like when was that ever what your job was supposed to be?
But isn't that what teams are doing to Rudy Gobert?
It is, but I think that a lot of times on this show when we're talking about bigs in the NBA, we talk about their situational awareness, whether you're in the middle of a game and you're trying to keep contained on your defensive assignment, or you're Rudy Gobert and you're assigned to just eat space and play space, and whoever that guy is, it could be anybody, but your job is basically to lock down the paint. And so in a critical moment at the end of the game, you went running to the three-point line, which for the life of me, just conceptually with their defense, I don't understand. I'm not trying to tear the guy down here, but I just don't understand what he was thinking. I don't even care that it was D'Lo who scores that bucket. It could have been anybody. Any NBA player is making that layup. I don't even care who it was. It was that you thought it was a good idea late in the game to leave the paint. I could not believe that happened. And so the bigger issue here is that they didn't lose the game because of that play. We all need to understand that. They lost the game because they put up 50-plus threes and did not make most of them. That's why they lost the game. And I think there's a lot of factors at play here, but I think last night's loss, without a doubt, was definitely one of their worst losses of the season. But now there's this sense of, with the Clipper injuries that are happening, with where their team is all of a sudden at, and with this big win in New York against the Knicks, we're once again having to have this conversation about the Suns coming back and getting the Jazz. And it's really unfortunate because I felt like, and we talked about this yesterday, this was an opportunity to put the Suns away. You win both of these games against Minnesota, they lose against Boston, they lose against the Knicks, it's over. And that didn't happen, and that's really disappointing.
Yeah, and I think the hardest thing to digest if you're a Jazz fan is why you lost this game. And, I think if you lost this game because you couldn't make threes, okay, I can get down with that. If you lost this game because, you just had a tough night on the road at the end of a trip, I can get down with that. You had every reason to win this game last night. And yet you didn't come out and execute an offense after the first quarter. This vaunted defense was non-existent for 3 quarters last night. And I continue to say this about Rudy Gobert. Either feed him the ball and let the offense run through him, or you can't have him on the floor late in games. You cannot have this both ways. Rudy Gobert should have been the focal point of the offense in the last 5 minutes of that game. They should have fed him. He can kick. He can get fouled. He can slow the game down. Whatever you're trying to do, feed Rudy Gobert the basketball. And the Jazz did not want to do that. That's why they lost the game. And when you continue to watch every minute of Jazz games, and you're starting to see this team is built on Donovan Mitchell, and that's about it. Mike Conley, when he's the number one, Mike will give you some great moments, but then he turns the ball over and doesn't get a shot up with the game on the line. Inexplicable. You realize that Rudy Gobert is this great defensive stalwart, and he is a very good player. His defensive numbers are insane. There should not even be a second consideration for Defensive Player of the Year. The metrics all point to a dominant Rudy Gobert. Until the last sequence of the game, where they give up an uncontested, wide-open layup to, of all people, D'Angelo Russell. And I'm just trying to figure out, how did their best offensive player last night in D'Lo get a free look at the basket? And I guess I'm going to go back to your point, Jake. If there's no Donovan Mitchell, this team is an average basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, Donovan Mitchell makes this Jazz team very good. They are not great. They are very good, even with Donovan Mitchell. I don't see that they can win without him.
Yeah, I think this conversation about Donovan Mitchell being out and what the Jazz can do without him goes right back to a lot of the situations that a lot of NBA teams face in the league when they have injuries, and we're seeing it more this year because of the shortened offseason. So again, you look at the Jazz and you say, hey, okay, Donovan's out. What does that do to our roster? Well, it does a couple of things. Number one, obviously, it goes without saying, it slots everybody up the depth chart one spot. No question about it. Goes without saying. But furthermore, on a deeper level, what happens when the best player on your team, who some people call a superstar, I call him a star, not a superstar, but the best player on your team is out, that basically means that everybody else has to pick up that slack, and it puts them in positions that they shouldn't be in, and they're not built for. So, my point here is Mike Conley isn't built for, being your leading scorer and making all these big shots. Mike Conley is a point guard and a distributor. That's what he does, and he's going to give you 15 to 20 a night just by playing the game. Donovan Mitchell's the guy that's coming out here and giving us 40-plus a night and giving us 10 assists and putting guys in a great position to knock down wide-open threes. And that's why I feel like we're seeing such a discrepancy in performance because, yes, it goes without saying Donovan, gives them the scoring bump. But the thing that never gets talked about is, when he's on the floor, the driving kick game is significant for this team because you have to respect his rim attack.
That's a great point. Where did that go for this team? Are you telling me that Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, as Rudy Gobert, have no ability to pass the basketball
Apparently,
out of the post?
No, he doesn't. Well, because he never gets the ball in the post. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He never gets the ball in the post. And I think the other thing you're not seeing with this team right now is the pick and roll game because it's usually Donovan and Rudy running pick and roll. And what happens is Donovan gets downhill and then he makes a decision. It's very simple. We see many teams do this. Hey, if I feel like I can get to the rim and finish or get fouled, I'm going to take it. If I feel like, hey, I can get someone a wide open look out of the corner or out of the wing or whatever, I'm gonna give it up. And that's how they basically run their offense.
Yeah, this was shocking last night. It was really shocking. Eric C says, dude, such a disappointing game last night. Yes, we agree. Shaquille O'Neal joins the show and says, soft Rudy couldn't close the game, not surprised. Shaq has made his feelings known.
Yeah, hey.
Getting paid $41 million a year to do this, sign me on a 10-day contract and I'll set him straight.
And I feel like it's cold-blooded to constantly bring up the contract, but if you're going to get paid that much, it has to be talked about. I mean, when they first signed him to this deal, again, you can find this on I think we were on YouTube at this point when he signed the deal. We had just started, but we had talked about that, when you sign big contracts like this, that comes with expectation. You don't sign LeBron to $35 million a year and expect to be a one-and-done team in the postseason, right? So when you sign a big man at a $200 million deal, you would expect the level of play to go up, and you would expect him to make plays like last night that he didn't make.
Yeah, I agree. I like Rudy Gobert, but how do I say this gently? I don't know that his teammates believe in him offensively, in that they're not going to feed him the ball in the block and say, hey, get us a basket. That's not who he is. He's not a back-to-the-basket guy. But certainly who Rudy Gobert is a guy that you can give the ball to and allow him to get fouled. You have to, at some point, take advantage of matchups, especially when you have KarlAnthony Towns, who's dominated Gobert in stretches last night, who's 4 fouls midway through the fourth quarter and doesn't pick up another.
Yeah.
And it's like, give Rudy Gobert the ball. If you're struggling as much as the Jazz were last night, feed him. But my question is, and I'm not even trying to be a hater, and I know a lot of people yesterday commented about how much we're haters of the Jazz. It's a legitimate question. Do guys like Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, any of the guys on the Jingles, Bogey, do any of them believe that giving the ball to Rudy Gobert in the block is going to end in a positive offensive possession? I don't know. They're all going to say, oh, yeah, anytime, sure. But do they really? Because they never do it.
Yeah, their actions say that they don't. I mean, so here's the thing. This is kind of two things at play here. So number one, we don't get to see them make this choice very often on the floor because the Jazz don't run through Rudy Gobert for obvious reasons offensively. I mean, they're not going to give Rudy Gobert is not going to stand at the elbow and play the mid-range game the way Jokic does, let's say, or whatever, But at the same time, when the possession calls for it and Rudy's got a small guy in the block, you'd love to give him the ball. The problem is that the guy can't even finish the most basic of back-to-the-basket moves. And I know that that's harsh, but again, if you go and watch his game tape, you're going to see that he can get to right here. Ball in his hand, right at the rim, he can get here. But he can't finish it. It rolls off the rim. He just misses the shot.
If he's not dunking the basketball, there's a 50-50 chance he's missing
and this is the problem with saying, hey, well, Cat had 4 fouls in the fourth quarter. How does Rudy not get him his fifth? Rudy doesn't get him his fifth because Rudy's never looking to get fouled. And if Rudy does get to the line, he doesn't make most of those shots. That's the issue. And so I say, hey, Cat's got 4 fouls midway through the fourth. We as a team, I don't know, some guy named Donovan Mitchell, go after him. Get him fouled out of this game, except the problem is they don't have Don on the floor because he's hurt. That's the issue.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how you explain this loss away as no big deal. I mean, you're 0-3 against the Timberwolves. Okay, they're athletic, they're younger, they run. Okay. But the way you're losing those games cannot be just explained away. Like, defensive lapses, terrible shot selection, Jordan Clarkson not passing the ball 2 nights in a row. Just give Jordan Clarkson the ball and he's going to shoot and miss. Bogdanovich back to Bogdanovich-like numbers of 1 of 7 from 3.
Bojan.
Yeah. You know what? Hell, on the nights he shoots 1 of 7, I'll call him whenever I want.
Bojan Bogdanovic.
Because when you're 1 of 11 from the floor, I mean, if Bogey gives them Saturday night numbers, they win this game. But he didn't. If Jordan Clarkson doesn't go, 3 of 9, or where's Clarkson? I'm sorry, 1 of 10 from 3. If Jingles doesn't go 3 of 13 from 3, my guy, they took 57 threes.
And by the way, I saw it multiple times on Twitter last night.
I said 57 threes.
Yeah, and the scary thing is, multiple people on Twitter had this realization last night that they passed on probably 8 to 10 more threes that they could have taken. So you're talking about a game, again, and this should be terrifying to you as a Jazz fan. Seriously, this should be terrifying. Like, you're talking about your team, approaching 60 three-point attempts in a single game and losing by 1 point because you didn't execute at the end of the game, to a bad, almost the worst, a sub-20 win team. And so when you look at the mainstream media and the way they're talking about this in Salt Lake and in the Western Conference media outlets, they're going to say, oh, wow, well, like, this is crazy. The Wolves are somehow beating the Jazz. And it's not like that. It's not that they're
somehow
lucky. You know what it is? Last night specifically, last night what I saw was the Timberwolves making a mental choice to grind it out. Think about this. They got their ass handed to them in the first quarter. They then had to come back from, I think it was 18 they were down, 18 or 19 points, that the lead that the Jazz built. The Timberwolves had to chop that down. They then take a 13-point lead on this Jazz team, and the Jazz chopped that down. So then, where are we at? Where are we left? We're left at square one at the end of the game. Who wants it more? Who's hungrier? Who wants this W more? And the Timberwolves wanted it more. And this is why I say, this team, the Jazz, are not rock solid mentally right now. They have to get back to playing their game. They got to get back to ball movement. You made a great point. I think it might have been late last week or maybe it was even yesterday about the fact that they're not moving the ball much. They're not. They're not moving the ball. They're playing this weird, like bring it up, move the ball once, and take a shot offense, which I don't understand. And that's why they find themselves in bad situations constantly.
Yeah, and that's why I asked this question about home court advantage and can the Jazz win a championship without home court advantage? My answer is I don't think so. Obviously, it's possible. I don't think so, right? And after you hit subscribe to get your chance to win this here Xbox S Series, I'm going to get into that more. To win this Xbox, we are skyrocketing towards 500 subscribers.
Amazing day yesterday. Just putting that out
really
there.
appreciate everybody who subscribed to the channel yesterday. Here's how you win this Xbox. All you have to do is hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, take a picture of your YouTube screen that says subscribed, put it on Twitter, and then tag Jake and I. I am at The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show. Jake is at SLC Supercars. Just tag us on Twitter with that photo, tweet it, and you are in the drawing. The day that we get to 500 subscribers, the next show will announce that winner. So we're just going to draw it out of a hat. If you are already subscribed, a bunch of questions came in yesterday.
Yeah.
What if I'm already subscribed? Real simple. Go to your YouTube channel. Click on the Monty Show. Show us you're subscribed the same way a new subscriber would. Take a picture, post it on Twitter, tag the Monty Show, tag SLC Supercars, hit tweet. You're good to go. You're in the drawing. What if I don't have Twitter? Well, A, what are you doing? Get Twitter. B, you can use Instagram as well. We will take Instagram submissions.
When were the same names?
The exact same names. At The Monty Show, at SLC Supercars on Instagram. Put it in your story with a picture of you subscribe to our channel. Tag us. Put that on your story. We'll see it. We'll put you in the drawing. Any way you want to join this drawing, do it. All you have to do is subscribe to The Monty Show. Monty, The Monty Show on YouTube. Easiest way to get there, themontyshow.com. Monty, themontyshow.com. This is why I ask.
Yeah.
If the Utah Jazz can win a championship without home court advantage. My opinion is no, they can't. Is it possible? Well, of course it's possible. They won't win a championship if they do not have home court throughout. And I think the things you see are the Suns are the first team to 20 wins on the road. The Jazz are not unbeatable on the road. They are really tough to beat at home. I mean, almost impossible. With or without Don, the Jazz are very difficult to beat at Vivint Arena. They have to have home court advantage. And some of the headlines that should be worrying you, LeBron James is on the way back. You saw an interview yesterday with Dennis Schroeder.
Mm-hmm.
Schroeder all but said, LeBron looks like he could play today. He is ready to go. They're just trying to pick the right window. Anthony Davis playing much heavier minutes now. They're talking about bumping him to 30 minutes. You're looking at a Laker team last night that goes to Orlando, plays a lot better than they played the other night. They beat the Orlando Magic. Now you throw LeBron back into that mix, and all of a sudden, Jake, I think the Lakers are a contender. I don't think they're right now today. I'm not going to put them on par with teams like the Clippers, but then again, Paul George's leg fell off last night again. Mm-hmm. He's hurt. Kawhi's hurt. They clearly have chemistry issues. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the Clippers are. All of that to say, nothing's been lost for the Jazz. As bad as last night feels, nothing's been lost for the Jazz. The Suns have an impossible schedule. The Jazz have a much easier schedule. In my opinion, the Jazz need home court advantage, and by the way, I think they're going to win it.
Yeah, I would agree that I think they do need home court advantage to win a championship, no doubt about that. But I think that it's funny how the season wears on, and we talk a lot about how the NBA season is a marathon, and I think that that's really coming into light right now. So you talk about the Clipper injuries, and yeah, nobody really knows how severe this Paul George issue is. I don't even really know what the issue is. I mean, it's like a ankle-ish problem, it looked like. He kind of came up limping and then didn't play in the fourth, so I'm guessing he's just probably sore. It's not actually a significant injury. Nevertheless, the Suns on Wednesday going to play the Clippers, who don't have PG and Kawhi. That's a huge break for the Suns. So if you're the Jazz, you got to know that, and you got to understand that Wednesday against the Kings is a must-win game, because I'm not saying that the Suns are going to go and blow out the Clippers, but I am saying that there's a decent chance that they're going to win that game, and you cannot, as a team, afford to ever allow the Suns to be in the 1 seed, even if it's for 1 or 2 games, and then you take that back. That can't happen, because what happens, if you allow that to happen, the Suns now believe and understand that they can win this thing, and that's a problem.
Oh, the Suns already believe they can win the West.
Well,
And I guarantee you, knowing Monty Williams a little bit and his coaching style, Monty Williams is telling them, we're the underdog. Nobody believes in us. We don't think we can, they don't think we can win the West. We're here to win the West. They think that. They know that the NBA, if you look at the Phoenix Suns schedule, it's almost impossible. You look at the Jazz schedule, it's a much easier road, but I'm with you 100%, my friend. The Utah Jazz have got to beat the Sacramento Kings. I don't know if you saw the Kings last night. Halliburton was on fire. The Black Falcon. Still one of the greatest names in the NBA. Harrison Barnes is playing well. You are getting great minutes from Rashawn Holmes. Buddy Hield shooting well. They're doing this last night without De'Aaron Fox. I mean, the Kings are a handful in Sacramento, and I think they're a real difficult matchup. Now, I don't think the Kings have anybody to answer Rudy Gobert.
no.
So, frankly, I think that the Jazz should win this game. But don't look past this, because who do the Sacramento Kings remind you of?
The Timberwolves.
Well, they remind you of the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah.
And De'Aaron Fox tortured this team, but I don't know what his situation is. In all seriousness, I don't know, and I'm going to look up if he's going to play or not. But if you look at the Kings, they're not the easiest team in the world to play, especially if you're the Utah Jazz. And listen, nothing is handed to you in this league. You can lose every single night.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. This is a must-win. It's a really important game. I know it'll be April 28th when they play. It's a must-win game. I think there's only 12 games left on their schedule. They essentially have to win all 12 of those. And that includes another one with the Suns and another one with the Nuggets.
And that's what I'm saying. If you're the Suns right now, you're going into Wednesday against the Clippers saying, hey, we got to win this game, because Friday when we see the Jazz, that is a must-win game if we hope to win the West. And so that's why I say, like, I don't know. I'm not sure, like, when Don's planning on coming back, or like what their what the outlook is for that.
It's about a week.
Yeah,
he'll be reevaluated this Friday, from what I understand.
I don't like the Jazz's chances against the Suns without Donovan Mitchell. That is very concerning to me.
Yeah, that's scary to me. I don't know how you're not beating the Suns without Don.
I look at the matchups and I say, Chris Paul versus Mike Conley, I'm taking Chris Paul. I then look at Devin Booker versus Royce O'Neal. I think Royce will make his life difficult, but I think you obviously have to go with Devin Booker in that situation. And then, of course, you have Gobert versus Ayton. And the real question is, who's going to win that matchup? Because I do think that Ayton's going to put up, 15 to 20 on Rudy. He's going to have an average game, but the question is, will DeAndre Ayton be a force in the game, or will he just kind of be another guy? Because I think for the Suns to beat the Jazz, he's got to do something more than just kind of average.
No kidding. I'll have to look that up. I guess the Black Falcon, Harrison Barnes, left this game with a quad injury. So we'll have to keep an eye on that.
They need to beat the Kings, dude. Come on.
Yeah, they should blow the Kings out.
Come on.
James Knight says the Jazz have the best record because they have had a healthy roster for the most part. I believe fatigue is a huge factor at the moment. Well, it certainly could be.
Definitely.
Joe Ingles, I think, here's the other thing, and I know we've talked about this a lot, and a lot of Jazz fans say we're stupid, and we are stupid. I'm not pretending to be intelligent. Clearly, I don't watch Jazz basketball, so who knows?
You think you know it all?
No, I don't think. Just ask me. I'll tell you I do. But the point is, listen, man, when I think about how the Timberwolves beat the Jazz, it's the exact same thing that the Kings are going to do, and the Clippers are going to do, and the Suns and the Nuggets are going to do, and Joe Ingles is going to have to overcome this. They're taking his space away at the three-point line. He does not have that ability to catch the ball at his face and just shoot it. Like you saw the Timberwolves last night pushing out beyond the three-point line. They're not at the line. They are beyond the three-point line because you don't have guys that are logo Dame on this Jazz team.
Right.
When Donovan Mitchell's out, he can be logo Don all day long.
Yes.
Mike Conley's not that guy. If you look at Bogdanovich, Bogey's a guy that almost has a toe on the line every time. You look at Joe Ingles, same thing. He's a corner wing shooter. If you take their space away and you force them into the paint, the Jazz have very limited options inside. And I think that's what we're seeing teams do. And so I think, yes, there's no doubt James Knight, your guy Jingles, I think there is some fatigue there. But I also think that it's very difficult to shoot threes when you got a guy in your jock. Jocks are meant for one, not two. And I think that we're seeing that teams like the Timberwolves, who have absolutely nothing to lose and have been eliminated from playoff contention, they're not going to let you come in and make 33s on them.
Yeah.
They're not going to let you break 3-point records against them. And by the way, it should be said as well, Edwards may well be the rookie of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the things he's doing, especially in the paint, when he's getting bodied and finishing, that's impressive to me.
Yeah.
And I know that you're going to see LaMelo come back here. LaMelo Ball's going to start playing this week again, so maybe he can recapture that. I think Edwards has answered any question anybody had about him.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be a phenomenal player. He needs some development for sure, but I think he's going to be a great player, and I think that he's the kind of player that I'd love to see the Jazz add. I'm not saying that he's available, but I'm just saying when I look at the build of a player, I would love to see the Jazz add some athleticism. And I think, again, I want to make one more point about what you were just saying about teams pushing the Jazz out. When defenses in the NBA do that, when they are committed to taking the three ball away from you and they're defending you beyond the 3-point line, all that does is accentuates the fact that Rudy Gobert can't play one-on-one individual offense. And if he could do that, that would mitigate defenses doing that to them.
Well, the problem is, too, I don't think there's a team in the NBA who cares if Rudy Gobert dunks.
Yeah.
I really don't think they care.
They want that to happen. They're saying, hey, give it to Rudy. We'll take the twos all day long. We're not letting you, we're not letting you go crazy from 3-point land.
We're not going to let Joe Ingles stand in the corner and shoot threes.
Yeah, that's not happening.
And the other thing is, look, with all due respect to George Niang, I mean, I understand it. You're the cement mixer or the conversion van or whatever the hell they call you.
The minivan, please.
Oh, my bad. You're the VW bus. We get it. My point is, go ahead and make those threes. That's great, but you're not gonna make 3 threes in a row, right? Like if you're gonna hit a three, the three that Conley hit to give them the lead was actually pretty good defense.
Yeah.
Rubio had a hand up. Like, that's just a great shot.
Yep.
Okay, knock yourself out, man. But you're not going to come down trailing by whatever it was, 10 at the time.
Yeah.
And the Jazz are just hawking up threes that aren't even close.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't have space to shoot those threes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the blueprint to beat them. A lot of people commenting on this. Yes. Johnny says, why aren't you reading comments? Because, well, I'm talking, and I do that a lot. Ian says, what's the timetable for Don's return? Within a week, it looks like, would be my guess. JC said, this proves Mitchell should be in the MVP conversation.
Heavy sigh.
Okay, so Tony Jones at The Athletic, who I think is one of the best NBA writers in the country, by the way. If you don't read Tony, if you don't subscribe to The Athletic only to get Tony Jones, I think you're crazy. Tony wrote a really comprehensive, well thought out, well defended MVP argument, both pro and con, for Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. And Donovan, his numbers are great. There's no doubt about it. But you don't just walk up and become the MVP. And, by the way, I think the injury is probably going to hurt him. These are critical games. And I just think it's really difficult for anybody wearing a Jazz uniform to win an MVP because of exposure. Voters in the MVP race, I don't believe look at metrics. I really don't. I think it's a feel thing. It's why guys like KD, it's why guys like Harden, it's why guys like Steph, it's why guys like, now Ben Simmons is, in my opinion, not a guy you are talking about for MVP, but look at what he's doing for Defensive Player of the Year. How is he going to win the Defensive Player of the Year if he does? Through the media. Talking about, hey, I belong here. Donovan Mitchell's not the guy that's going to say, hey, I belong in the MVP race. Vote for me. So it makes it very difficult for him to win the MVP. Now, if he does this again next year and does it at a higher level and the Jazz win a championship, okay, I think in 2 years he could be a contender for the MVP. With all due respect, Rudy Gobert shouldn't even be in the MVP conversation.
Agreed.
He is, in my opinion, and this is just, again, I don't have a vote, so I guess it doesn't matter. Rudy Gobert, when you are a 0 offensively, and in big games against the best bigs, your opposite number, you routinely give up 20-plus points and double-doubles and
Or 40 to Embiid, but
you're not able. This whole thing you mentioned earlier about Rudy drifting defensively, I think it hurts them more than it helps them. And I know that they like Rudy to drift and be able to rim protect and whatnot, but KarlAnthony Towns can actually make 3-pointers. Oh, we're going to put Niang or we're going to put Bogey on Towns. Well, how did that work out? And then you have Rudy Gobert in the corner against KarlAnthony Towns, and he gives them the baseline as you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's unforgivable defensively. The principle of protecting your baseline, I mean, you cannot give up the baseline. There's nobody there to help you. Force him to the middle where you've got 3 other guys waiting to collapse. He gives them the baseline. Like
And the
you
thing
can't have that.
The thing that upset me about that play so much was not even that it was a dunk or anything like that. It's the idea that it's the way the play happened. Okay, so KarlAnthony Towns comes down from the top of the key. He essentially walks around the 3-point line, comes and gets the ball, and Rudy's watching this happen. He's got. I can't remember who had the ball for the T-Wolves there that Rudy had trapped, but he's watching KarlAnthony Towns come and get the ball. It's not like this was surprising to Rudy.
Yes.
And he's standing there, and for the life of me, he doesn't cut him off. I was so shocked by that because defensive player of the year caliber defenders make that play all day.
You have to step up and stop his momentum.
Yeah.
And if you didn't see it, KarlAnthony Towns started the play at the top of the key and just kind of ran a hook route to the corner where he was handed the basketball and never stopped running and just went right down the baseline and threw up like a wind-up right-handed slam. And you're just wondering, and then the Conley-Gobert meltdown at the end of the game on D'Lo, like there's no communication there between your 2 most trusted veterans on the floor. Zero communication there.
And then to compound that idea, you have your big thinking he's got to go to the 3-point line. Why would
you do that?
Why would you ever go to the 3-point line at the end of the game? Okay, earlier in the game, middle of the game, there's situations where it calls for that. I get that. But at the end of the game, you're talking about 2 seconds left or whatever it was left in the game there. You're talking about a late game, clutch time situation.
Yes.
And you think that you should just leave the paint? That's why I'm saying
mind-numbing.
That's why I'm saying these guys right now, I agree with I think it was James who was talking about fatigue. I'm not just talking about physical fatigue. Yes, that's at play, but I'm talking about mental fatigue. You look at some of these shots last night, as you were saying, they weren't even close. I mean, I'm serious. These were like LA Fitness level bricks that we're talking about, not close, and the defensive stuff. So they got to figure out how to refresh mentally here.
Mike says, where'd you get the Kobe? The Kobe on the wall.
Yeah.
From Nike.
Sneakers app.
You know how that happens and stuff. I won an auction, if you can believe that. Can't read that. Mike, don't curse. Can't do it, buddy. He says, do you feel like the Lakers still have a chance to win a championship?
No doubt about it.
Oh, I think if you can get a 5-game run with LeBron and AD healthy and the level that we've seen Schroeder and Cantavius and, and frankly, I'm shocked that Kyle Kuzma is actually playing more responsible offense. I'm really surprised by that. But you're seeing that Kuzma's stepping up. You're seeing all these guys step up. And it's like, hey, it's pretty remarkable to me the way that Montrezl Harrell the last week has been an absolute beast inside. I'm looking at the Lakers adding back LeBron James now, and you're starting to see that Anthony Davis's mid-range is falling. Yeah, absolutely, they're a championship contender. I don't know what to make of the Clippers. Trey on Twitter asked, "What do you think of the Clippers?" I just don't feel it. Maybe that's the right way to say it. I don't feel it either, because and maybe I'm wrong. At this point, I would put the Suns as a championship like contender, I would put the Suns over the Clippers right now.
Yeah, well, I think the Clippers are the same old team they've been. I mean, we had been talking about how we were really surprised by the fact that they had gone on this run where they were really playing like dominating basketball.
Yes.
And Paul George was crushing people, and then the injury happens, and so that's why I say we don't really know the severity of the Paul George injury. My feeling in my gut, having seen it, is just that he landed kind of awkwardly, and I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be back.
Yeah.
But the real issue is, and whether we're talking Nets, Lakers, or Clippers, the Clippers out of all three of those teams are the team that suffers from the lack of chemistry the most, and it comes back to get them in the postseason. Whereas, like with the Lakers have already won a championship last year.
Yes.
Once they get back together, it's just a matter of reps and them kind of getting it going.
And they have nothing to lose.
Yeah, and they're the team that has been hurt all year. They're not supposed to be here, so like they can live off of that. And so yeah, to answer the question, yeah, I don't think the Lakers need home court advantage to go ahead and win a championship. I don't think they need it.
They already won a championship on the road.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing I think is interesting is a lot of people asking about, is Donovan Mitchell a championship caliber player? I don't know yet. I mean, they've gone out in the first round a couple of years in a row. When he becomes that, you'll know that.
Is Quin
I'm
Snyder,
not trying to be a simp about it, but
I think the question we need to be asking that, like, Donovan Mitchell, to me, yes, is a championship caliber player. He can be on your championship starting five. There's no question about that if you want to win a title. My question is Quin Snyder a championship level head coach? Because this conversation is coming out a little more, and it's working its way to the front line. But when we talk about them going out as a team in the first or second round or whatever these last several years, a lot of that's coaching too. So I think that question has to be answered this year as well.
Yeah, and I think I put more into Donovan Mitchell than I do Quin Snyder. I think in the most difficult moments of a season, the player wins you a championship. The coach has to prepare you to execute in that moment. And again, it's frustrating to watch the Jazz coming out of timeouts. Both offensively and defensively. They have major lapses and breakdowns. That play to end the game last night, that's the best you could do on a timeout. Coming in, you drew up a play. That's the best inbound play you could get. And Mike Conley gets back tapped by Ricky Rubio. That's just, that doesn't make a lot of sense at all. Eric C. says, geez, I hope we can hold on the first for another week. Listen, I think the Phoenix Suns have a very, very difficult schedule, and I think that is a big advantage to the Jazz. Even if somehow the Jazz go to Sacramento and lose, you're looking at the Suns and Clippers as we talked about. Now, does Paul George play in this game? I don't know. That's a game that you would expect in Phoenix. What is that, tomorrow on Wednesday night?
Yep.
That you'd expect the Suns to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if Kawhi and PG play, I would expect that to be a really close game.
Correct.
Now, my guess is PG's not going to play. He missed the entire fourth quarter last night. I think the Suns are going to wind up winning that game, and I think that's a huge break because coming from Brooklyn, Philly, Brooklyn, Boston, New York, that's a tough stretch.
Yeah.
One day off to host the Clippers, well, it's a lot more palatable when it looks like Kawhi and PG aren't going to play.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Suns' schedule, it is L.A. at home, Utah at home on, what is that, Sunday? Friday.
Friday.
Sunday at OKC, Tuesday at Cleveland, at Atlanta, home for the Knicks, at the Lakers, at Golden State, Portland, and back-to-back at San Antonio to end it.
Yeah, so I think those last four games are really difficult. I think there are definitely some wins in there, but that when, to the commenter, I think that, hope that we can hold on to the one seed. Well, you should beat the Kings. I cannot confidently say you're going to beat the Suns, so let's assume you beat the Kings and everything stays level going into Friday. We're right where we are. I think after Friday's game, you have to assume you're going to be you're going to be tied at the top of the West.
I would think.
And then it's going to be just an absolute shootout to see who's going to win the West.
I bet Donovan Mitchell comes back for that Friday game.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it, and I think that a lot.
If there's any chance.
I think one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot when we talk about elite players like LeBron and all these other guys is their ability to recover and come out and play. before they were expected to, I think is a huge, huge thing. And I think that for Donovan, being that it was a pretty severe ankle roll, I'd love to see him work through that. You didn't. It's not a ligament issue. It's not anything. This is one of the biggest games of the year on the schedule right now.
Let's see what happens Wednesday.
Yeah, well,
if the Suns win Wednesday, I just don't see any way
you can't afford to be level with the Suns. That can't happen. You can't afford it.
I don't disagree, but the schedule way tilts in favor of the Jazz. I just don't think it's worth it. Take your time with Don. A lot of people, I think, want to see him come back Friday. I don't think it's worth it. Eric C. says, how about them Padres, though? Hashtag beat LA, of course.
Yeah.
Jake on point with the sound bites. Keep them coming. Forgotten Soul says, I hate being a Jazz fan. It's torturous at times. Tanner Plummer says, yeah, you and me both hate being Jazz fans. Eric C. says, all three of us hermanos. Okay.
What is this? What is this? A pity party in the comments here? What do we got going on here?
Tanner Plummer says, "quote You should beat the Kings." End quote. No, I'm not seeing it. I have lost all confidence in this team. Relax, mijo. Take it. See me. I worked in a mijo.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the point is, look, Sensei, just relax a little bit. Sensei doesn't really work there. Anyway, my point is, relax. They, in my opinion, are finding their wings without Donovan Mitchell. There's going to be some awkwardness. I think there are some fatigue issues. Guys are playing a lot more minutes and doing ththings they're not often asked to do. Relax.
Just take it nice and easy, okay? Just relax.
Just relax. And I also think, listen, if Harrison Barnes doesn't play for Sacramento on Wednesday, tomorrow night, I think you're going to roll that game.
I want better fucking execution.
That'd be nice.
I want it.
Now, again, the thing that worries you is you have an athletic team that can make threes and get to the basket. So you're going to be without De'Aaron Fox, and if you're without Harrison Barnes, I don't see how the Kings can win.
Just going to go out on a limb here and say that I don't think Rudy Gobert is going to be leaving the paint much against the Kings.
I would guess not.
Just going out on a limb there. I know
because who's he got to go get? Who's he got to go get? If you're watching this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up. That thumbs up really helps us, so we appreciate that. Subscribe to win your chance at this Xbox Series S. We're going to give it away. No strings attached. All you have to do is screenshot your subscription, tag us on Twitter with a photo of you being subscribed, tweet it, and you're in the drawing.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Absolutely right. Mitchell wants to know. Okay, so this is what confuses me. Mitchell wants to know why all we do is kiss Utah Jazz ass.
What are you talking about, bro?
So wait, this probably tells you we're doing a fine job here on the program.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
You guys don't watch games. You're Jazz haters, but all you do is kiss their ass. Okay. I love
that show.
Yeah, I feel like we're right in the middle. I feel like we're doing well. Mitchell, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up.
Oh, my goodness.
You know what I'm saying?
I love it.